Welcome back. Join the conversation on Twitter and send us an email as well. Let's quickly tell you our handles on Twitter. I'm at CTV Harriet, at Bibosun. We're glad to mind your business. And don't forget, you can tweet at BizMorning and at Channels TV as well, which is at Channels TV. Yeah, that's the handle. And send us an email to businessmorning@channelstelevision.com so we can get the conversation going. Your comments coming in as quickly as they can will also help contribute to the robust conversations that we'll be having here on the program. Bolson joins me now. Bolson is Channel's business news editor. As we take a look at developments in Nigeria's energy market, especially what happened yesterday, and that is the flagging off of the cleanup of Ogoniland. Good morning to you, Bolson. You were pretty excited yesterday, in spite of so many things that you said yesterday. Very passionate about this cleanup exercise, yes. But it is a challenge.
Yes, it is a challenge that we all hope that for the first time we'll be able to pull it through. And if you listen to the President's address, which was read on his behalf by the VP, it traced the history of the cleanup exercise, the first arrangement that was made, the report that was put together under the Obasanjo's administration, how it ended up on ex-President Jonathan's table in 2011. 6 years or 5 years down the line, not much was done. There was no funding support, and what have you now? His administration is taking it up from there. And I think this is one good continuity thing, and there's no other window to go through here for the Buhari's administration. You just have to do something and take care of that very critical part of the country's economic underbelly, save lives, rehabilitate the people, do the cleanup well and fully done, but also important to prevent further degradation of that environment. But this is a twin problem. Yes, the oil spills because the oil firms are there. On the other hand, you have the various unsteady militant activities over the years since the Mossop days. Then you have the MENT, then you have now the Niger Delta Avengers. What happens next? Yesterday, there were two reported attacks in the Niger Delta as well, one in Delta State, the other in Bayelsa State. Now, these are activities of the militants that will continue to contribute to the damage of the Niger Delta region. So we need to find, as we are cleaning up, find political solutions, military solutions, economic solutions, social solutions to the Niger Delta, and that is very, very critical. Again, we're looking at the northeast and the problems in the north central. All these things weighing in on the government's ability to rise up to the occasion and restore life to the people. If you're looking at what we're looking at right now, the footage on the screen, is very, very damaging, very, very discouraging. How could you have a country in which you have this kind of environmental degradation in the south? Again, that 90% or more of the people can say we've benefited across the country from the resources that are polluted and destroy lives and livelihood within that region. Then we're now looking at another set of problems coming all the way from the north. So right now we're kind of stuck in the middle, if you want to put it that way. We're a little bit stuck in the middle. We will need to find solutions very quickly. We need to fund it as well. We need to get creative. We need to get firm and resolute in solving these problems in the extreme south and in the extreme north. Unfortunately, we're having the middle belt being thrown into the entire mix, and that doesn't look good. So if you draw the map of Nigeria right now, there's only very few parts that you can really say is really stable and quiet. And that is not a very good environment for foreign investment, even for domestic investment.
So, Bolson, we'll continue this conversation in just a bit. So, let's take a look at the oil and gas stocks just before we really get down to it, because we're going to be talking much later to the former chairman of Nostra.
Yes.
Of course, getting his perspectives, he was at the helm of affairs for a few years, and they are really in charge of checking oil spills and monitoring and the rest of it. So we'll talk about that.
Go on down there.
So let's
that's
finish.
The guy on the ground.
Yes, he is. So let's finish, taking a look at the markets, and then we'll continue this conversation.
One news that came in yesterday was that Oando has once again delayed the release of his 2015 financial statement.
That will explain the reason why.
And look at the stock yesterday, 11.2 million shares in one single day. As soon as that news hit the wires, and look, we're not sure why the financial regulatory, financial the Financial Reporting Council, the FRC, is still holding some regulatory oversight over Owando's annual statement for 2015. 2014 was really bloody, as it were. The company reported about almost 150 billion naira in net loss. What will happen in 2015? Why are the authorities holding the financial statements of Owando Nigeria PLC and say, look, hold on a second, don't release it to the market, we need to check through again? That extension was announced yesterday, and that spooked the shares of Owando, the integrated energy group, down 2.33%. And that was one major news for the oil and gas sector, just spoiled the mood of that segment, and that section of the market went down almost 2%. But check through the rest of how Owando's not too good news and the delay of the financial statement in 2015 full year impacted on 40 oil, 2.45%. Investors looking for some clawback here of some profits they've seen on the shares of the big boys in that sector, and 40 oil is the big elephant in the room, down to 191 naira 10 kobo at the closing bell. Mobile 166.25 on changing grain. MRS sitting at 34.71. Seplat, the only E&P company on our market, down also by 2.74%, of course, having his own share. Seplat being an oil exploration company, as the oil price nosedived slightly on Thursday on the news that the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries couldn't reach an agreement on ceiling on output, trying to mend the fence between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Tehran remained very recalcitrant, refused to take the olive branch extended towards it by Saudi Arabia. So it was a meeting. That was the opening session. Today is the big day for the discussion behind the closed doors in Vienna, the Austrian capital, where you have OPEC headquartered. Today will be very technical meetings that the 14 member nations will be having. Then you have Total sitting at 170 naira per unit. We'll spend some time talking about Owando. Let's move on. Look at the sector in summary. 1.98% to the south. The index for that sector, the oil and gas index, is now really worse than the entire NSE composite index. You call it the oil share index. You can also call it the general index, whatever. 13.1%. Price to earnings, 25.4. Broader market, 8.8 multiples, 3.2% dividend yield to the south. That's the summary of the markets for you on Thursday. Harriet, are we back with the president's statement? And I'll take this from President Buhari, what the vice president says. And this was somewhere in the middle of the statement. Perhaps some folks really missed it, but I didn't. Not because I'm really smart, but because I just put an extra. I said the president said, just made it my business. He says oil sector, he said the oil industry regulators must live up to expectations to stop oil theft and illegal refining. Now the question is, who is in charge of regulating industry? So the President Buhari yesterday, even though he wasn't present, he threw a jab at the an uppercut for the oil industry regulators, the NNPC to be precise, the Ministry of Oil, Ministry of Petroleum Resources, isn't it? And says the regulator in that industry should live up to expectations. In other words, hold on a second, NNPC, you can't sit down and oil theft is continuing and illegal refineries are operating. Hold on a second, you are the regulator. So when I saw this in the news and I said, hold on a second, the president says the oil sector regulators must live up to expectations. And that's what the president says. So he's ready to do the cleanup. $1 billion, the takeoff money, right?
That's between the joint ventures, yeah.
The president must be really exasperated at the moment. You're going to spend hard-earned money, even though you're doing 60-40 with the oil majors and what have you to do the cleanup. But it's still a lot of money on the side of the government. And then folks are still stealing oil. There's illegal refineries going on. The militants are having something close to a field day. If you run such an enterprise, it's going to give you a lot of sleepless nights.
Okay, so Bosin, do you think that maybe before flagging off this, this cleanup exercise, maybe they should have flagged off the other exercise, which is to ensure that the regulator stops the oil thieves from continuously vandalizing those pipelines that, after they finish taking what they want, it spills into the waterways, spills into the farmlands, and continues to make a mess of things. So you're setting aside $1 billion to do a cleanup, but you're not so sure if you're going to successfully do that cleanup because you still have the saboteurs who go after these assets and vandalize at will.
The roof is leaking. Then you got the floors already soaked. So you want to
buckets. We've got buckets everywhere trying to catch this water. Yes.
But hold on, the roof is still leaking. And that's what you're talking about. And that is on one side. The militants have come back into full activities. We need to fix that. We need to go back to the NNPC and ask these questions. He came in. Dr. Ebekachiku talked about the military, the Navy, the Air Force, the soldiers, the Army, that they're going to be part of the cleanup exercise. Sometimes we'll talk about using drones and what have you. It looks like those things have scaled back a little bit. But again, you must give it to the Nigerian Navy and other security forces in Niger Delta. They're still catching these guys by the dozens. Dirty Dozens, if you want to use the title of that movie. Dirty Dozens, almost all the time, find illegal refineries in the creeks and the forest, try to snatch up some number of trucks of refined petrol or crude that has been stolen, that they pour it onto the fire and try to mix up and create some from finished products and what have you. Now, it's a very serious situation down there. It's a basket, it's a swamp full of dollars, as the title of the book went, but also full of troubles. So the Niger Delta is a swamp full of trouble, full of problems. And so trying to stop it here, the hemorrhaging continues here. So the president has inherited, Buhari's administration has inherited, President Buhari has inherited a very serious problem here in which oil theft is continuing because it's a very big cartel over there. You have the big boys internationally doing their own on one side. You have the small local thieves also doing theirs. Then you have the militants who are angry with...
It's a multidimensional problem.
It's hydra-headed.
So you have to get the buy-in of everybody. Everybody has to be, on a win-win situation with this one. I like to use that phrase because we all must have a win-win situation.
It looks like it's a lot of hard work here for the regulator, and that means the Arrowhead, the NNPC, and the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, which is the big brother here. And they need to get their acts together. This has gone on for decades. You're looking at things that have gone really wrong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decades. At the same time, you're trying to reform the industry, bring new investments in, set up the PIB, get new money into the system, use it to create more jobs. Whether you like it or not, all will be part of the new diversification thing. Look at the story from Saudi Arabia. You can't run away from oil, even if you want to have a new transitional arrangement in which you move on to non-oil. You still need oil. Therefore, there's a lot of work to do, not just in Ogoniland, but the entire Niger Delta region where we produce oil and gas. Again, look at what has happened. Electricity has been badly affected because, once again, the militants have shut things down.
Well, Bosin, that's a very bleak way, of course, for us to present how the weekend is going to be like, but thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yeah, look to the sunny side. Look to the sunny side of life.
Where is the sunny side? I'll be looking out for it, as I'm sure you will be as well. Wilson is back 1:30 CET on Business Incorporated. You can catch him there. But we're back in just a moment as we continue this conversation on the Ogoniland cleanup. Join us again.